and welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm just going to be giving my tips on how I would prepare for my student nurse placement. Just a bit of background on me. I am a qualified mental health nurse. I've been qualified for 3 years and I went to uni between 2014 to 2017. So some of the things that I talk about may have changed slightly, but most of it is the same. But I know with COVID and things going on, like placement might not be the same, but I'm hoping most of these tips can be useful to you. If you see me looking down a lot, it's because I've put a lot of points on my iPad because I don't want to miss anything out. Do your research on your placement. Now, you will find out your placement a couple weeks before you go, at least. You should do. When I used to find out my placement, I would always do my research. So I'd put in the name into Google, find out about the service, because a lot of the times, especially with me, I never had worked in healthcare before. So some of the services I didn't know what they did, so I just wanted to find out so I know the type of things that I'd be doing. And that way I could get the number and call up the place and just introduce myself. And I really think that's a good thing that you guys should do, especially if it's your first placement, because I'm sure you'll be feeling really nervous and you won't know what to bring, what to wear, anything like that. So I would call up my placement, and because I did mental health, a lot of the times we didn't have to wear a uniform. Sometimes we did. So that is always a question I used to ask. I used to ask them if there was parking. I used to ask them if there was a microwave in the staff room. I used to ask them if there was food provided, because some placements, especially if it was private, used to get a meal provided for you, but if it was NHS, you had to bring your own food. Also, that what time you should come in, because some placements, although they're 12 hours, usually when it's your first week, sometimes they'd only want you to come in 9 to 5, just so you could just get all your stuff together, meet your mentor and things like that. Prepare yourself for your shift. So especially if it's your first placement and your first time doing long shifts, then I would always try and prepare myself a week before, just so my body would get used to waking up early, so that I'm not too tired. Also, you need to expect that you may have to do nights, you may have to work weekends. This is a question I always get asked a lot. And yeah, sometimes you will have to work nights and weekends, and this is because it's part of being a nurse. This is kind of an expectation that is expected of you, especially if you work on the wards. And so when you're a student, you will be expected to do that. They won't make you do months and months of nights or weeks and weeks of nights on every weekend, but they just want you to do a few, just so that you're showing that, you know, you can do them. As a student nurse, you still have to do assignments. And when I was studying to do my nursing, during placement, we also had to provide evidence whilst we was on placement. So say if I did someone's blood pressure, I'd write a short little piece on it, on how I did blood pressure and how it links to all the nursing competencies. And I had to do that and produce this work just to show that I was fulfilling the competencies. And at the same time, I had to do my uni assignments. And after a while, I was finding it hard to juggle. What I did is I found out when all my university assignments were due, so that I could get most of the assignment, if not all of it, done before I started placement, so that I could really focus on placement properly and really focus on my assignments. And I really feel like that helped me to achieve the overall grade that I got in the end for my nursing. So definitely try and organize yourself well. This also involves making sure you meet your mentor within your first week of placement, because that way you can find out what is expected of you. If you don't find out what's expected of you, then you could just be in your placement weeks in and not fulfilling what is expected of you. And then, you know, when your mentor comes to sign you off for your placement, she may not be giving you the feedback that you want to hear. So I always suggest to people to find out what is expected of them, so that they can work towards things so that they don't feel like they're unprepared. And I feel like it will really help you to pass your placement and to gain your confidence, because you know what you need to do. Now, if this is your first placement, you won't be expected to know everything. You're not going to be expected to, I think a lot of students think, oh, I'm going to have to know all the medications in the world and know this and that. Just take your time, go at your own pace. But also, when you go on placement, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you would have been given a booklet. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's a booklet where it's got all your competencies. I'll put the name of it on the screen because my head is just gone blank, but it will have all the nursing competencies in it, and it will tell you as a nurse what you should be achieving. And obviously by your third year, you should be doing those things independently. But in your first year, you may be doing it under supervision, and then second year under less supervision. So if by looking through that book, you will also see what is expected of you. I will always say, especially if it's your first placement, don't expect yourself to be knowing everything. I've never worked, when I was a student, I had never worked in healthcare before, and I just went in and I just tried to soak up a lot of information at first. Maybe your first few days you might not be if you're in a ward, you might not be on the actual ward, you might be in the office, just, looking at notes, looking at documents, just to familiarise yourself. Maybe you'd get to know your staff, just to familiarise yourself. And then as you get more comfortable, you'll start going out onto the ward and fulfilling tasks and things like that. And as you go along, you will feel like you're just as part of the team as like anyone else. So yeah, just give yourself time, but also set yourself some goals, so that way you know that you're hitting your targets and the expectations. So that's why I always encourage people to have a meeting with their mentor within the first week of placement, just so that you know what you should be doing, at what point, at what stage, so that you're not disappointed or you're not shocked if, your mentor says, you're not doing the things that I expect of you. Because if you ask them straight from the first day or from the first week, you already know what you need to be doing. Make sure you have everything you need with you before you go in. So that's making sure you have the book with all your competencies in, making sure you have some food and drink with you, because doing those long shifts, you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Also, I would highly suggest bringing a notepad to placement, so that way if you ever come across anything you don't understand, and I always say if you don't understand anything in placement, ask questions, ask your mentor, ask the support workers, ask any of the staff, because I'm sure you'll get the answer, and write it down just so you can look back on it and reflect on it. You could write your evidence about it, because I think one of the nursing competencies is about learning and continuing to learn. That is one of the main things as nurses, we're always learning every day. So by doing that, you're showing that, and that will help you to achieve your competencies as well. Always ask for help. I remember I had a placement that I really struggled with, and I was coming home and I was really upset and I was crying and I just couldn't cope. I just thought I'm not going to pass this placement. It's just too much. It was so fast paced, and I was in my first year, and I just spoke to my personal tutor at uni, and she told me to speak to my mentor. And at first I was a little bit scared. I don't know why, but eventually I did speak to my mentor, and she just reassured me, you're in your first year, just take time, do this. And she gave me a lot of tips on what to do to help me gain my confidence, which it did. And in the end, I passed the placement, and I actually achieved higher than what I needed to pass that placement. I just think one of the main, and probably my final point that I want to say, is that no matter how much you prepare for placement, you may still feel nervous, you may still feel anxious, and that is usually a good thing, because it means you actually care about, this degree, you care about, being a nurse. because you're not going to feel nervous about something you don't care about. So just see it as a good thing, and nerves, they will eventually go away. The more you gain your confidence, it will come along. So please leave any questions down below. I'm more than happy to answer them, or email me if it's a little bit longer so that I can really, you know, take my time to respond to you. And I may do a part 2 of this video because I'm sure there's a lot of points that I've missed off, because it was a long time ago. I went to university. It doesn't feel that long ago, but you know, 3 years is quite a long time. So yeah, I've probably missed some points out. I'm sure the points I've mentioned will help you to prepare. I hope you found this video helpful, and yeah, I will see you soon. I have a lot more nursing videos, tips, uni advice, assignments advice, exam advice, everything I've got. So I'm gonna release those videos very soon. I'm gonna film them very soon. And yeah, I hope I can help all of you on your journey to becoming a nurse. So yeah, take care, everybody. Bye.